All right, West Virginia fans, it's Colorado week. The Colorado Buffaloes, Deion Sanders, primetime, coming to Morgantown in just a few short days. Massive opportunity for West Virginia to continue the momentum they have built right now. Look decent against TCU, had their best outing of the year versus Houston. What can this team do versus a struggling Colorado team? In today's episode, we're going to talk about Saturday's game and what West Virginia needs to do to come out with a win. Before we do so, if you're a West Virginia fan, please remember to like and subscribe to the show. We really appreciate all the support. So if you are not subscribed yet, definitely do. We'd love to have you. With that being said, let's get into this week's game versus the Colorado Buffs. So, to start off, let's get into the series history between these two schools. Only have met two times. They met in 2008 and 2009. West Virginia lost a thriller in overtime, 14-17, back in 2008. And then 2009, Colorado came to Morgantown. I believe that was a Thursday night game, and West Virginia got it done with a win. So, not much history between these two schools, but it should be a fun one on Saturday. So we have a 1-1 split in the series. All right, tail of the tape, kind of what's at stake and what's going on for this game on Saturday. It's Military Appreciation Day. I know West Virginia has a proud veteran fan base. A lot of people have served, so that's great that we can honor our military. Hopefully they do so with a win. The game's going to be on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max. I absolutely love TNT's coverage, if I'm being honest. I think they do a really good job. I really enjoyed the broadcast versus UCF, even though the game was terrible for West Virginia. So I'm all for TNT covering Big 12 sports. I think it's a nice thing that they have going. West Virginia is actually a 6.5-point favorite in this one as of today. So a few weeks ago, that probably wasn't the case. But now that West Virginia has been winning and Colorado has been going in the opposite direction, things have shifted a little bit on that end. And then the other cool thing about this weekend is Steve Slayton's going to be recognized. He was inducted into the 2025 class of the College Football Hall of Fame. Steve Slayton is an all-time Mountaineer great. He's one of the reasons why I chose to go to West Virginia. Seeing him, Pat White, Owen Schmidt, and what those guys did when I was in high school made West Virginia a really enticing option to go to school there. So with that being said, it's going to be awesome to see him get recognized in front of the fans on Saturday. Should be a really cool moment for there. All right, let's talk about the Big 12 standings. Not much at stake as far as Big 12 championships go, right? You can see the bottom of the conference standings right now, and you see Colorado and West Virginia both with identical records. Both are 1-5 in the conference, and both are 3-6 overall. It's almost like an elimination game as far as bowl stakes go, right? Because you have to have a 6-win season to qualify for a bowl game in most cases. So it's also a chance to kind of climb up the ladder in the Big 12. You know, you don't want to be towards the bottom, obviously. So right now, Oklahoma State is holding that strong. Can West Virginia make another jump and pass Colorado and then keep stacking wins and momentum? Hopefully, but like I said, there's not much title contention here. These are two teams that have been struggling in conference play going into this one. All right, let's look at how these teams have gotten here. Let's start off with Colorado. Had a tough game in week 1 versus Georgia Tech. That was one of my top 10 non-conference games coming into this season. They played competitive but lost. Took care of Delaware, lost to Houston, beat Wyoming, hung tough versus BYU, hung tough versus TCU. They beat Iowa State, and that's when we thought that Colorado might have some momentum with them, and that momentum quickly went down the tubes. They're giving up 53 straight points in 2 back-to-back games versus Utah and Arizona, which is alarming. So we're going to talk about Colorado and what their future holds, but right now they're coming in limping into this game. And then we know about West Virginia. We have the win over Robert Morris. We have the win over Pittsburgh. After Pittsburgh, we really struggled for a bunch of consecutive weeks in a row. We weren't competitive. Last week was the first time that we had a lead in a Big 12 game, and we actually got the win in that one. And that was the most explosive that our offense has looked. So hopefully they can carry that over into this one on Saturday. All right, let's look at this initial injury report. It's kind of hard to believe that a team has more people on their injury report than West Virginia does this season. if you have been watching this show and if you're a West Virginia fan, you know all about the history of our injury situation this year. It's been really brutal. And I can't remember a season like this where we have all these star players and key players out for games. So you kind of see our situation there, but I really want to get into Colorado's situation because there's some decent things here to go over because there's some impact players that are going to be out. Let's start with the people that are going to be out. Hakeem Williams, he has 9 receptions this year. He's a Florida State transfer. Cornerback, the Vickers kid, he has 10 tackles. He's logged 184 defensive snaps this season, 2 pass breakups. He actually transferred over from Oklahoma, so he's a decent player. And then you have McNeil, who's the starting defensive tackle. He has 7 career sacks, so having him out is going to be an issue. And then look at the Bayard kid, who is going to be out for the first half because of a targeting penalty last week. He's actually the team's leading tackler. He has 69 tackles on the season, 1 interception, and he is a South Florida transfer. So he's a nice player. Hopefully West Virginia can take advantage of that with him being out in the first half. Then if you go through the doubtful list, Simeon Price is a running back that came over from Mississippi State, has 21 carries this year for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then if you look at the questionable players, you see starting cornerback DJ McKinley. He is questionable, like I said. He's their starting cornerback. He actually has an 88 overall on NCAA, the video game, so this guy can play. So if he can't go, that's going to be really tough for Colorado. RJ Johnson hasn't played since the Houston game. He has one interception versus Delaware this season. And then the big ones are their starting offensive lineman and Larry Johnson III and Jordan Seaton. If those guys can't go, that's absolutely massive for West Virginia because Seaton is an excellent player. Larry Johnson, like I said, is a starter. And we're going to go over in this video. Colorado has really struggled up front over the last few weeks. So this initial injury report is definitely interesting. I'm recording this on Thursday morning. There'll be another one that comes out tonight and another one that comes out tomorrow. So keep an eye on this. Let's see how these guys progress. But it's definitely a tough situation for Colorado coming into this one. Like I said, I didn't think that there was too many teams that were going to have a worse situation than West Virginia coming in, but Colorado is definitely making a case for having a difficult situation coming in. All right, let's get to the next topic, the battle of the freshmen. So Colorado is going to be looking to get a spark in this game from Julian Lewis, who was a 4-star recruit, 94 overall recruit, according to 24/7, 10th quarterback in the class. You see his stats there, has played in like 2 games, 129 yards passing, 1 touchdown. And then we have Scotty Fox on our end, who has sparked us. And since he's come in, he has rejuvenated the team a little bit. Didn't look good versus UCF, but against TCU threw for over 300 yards. And last week, really did a nice job of commanding the offense. He has 145 rushing yards this season, and he had 65 last week. So Scotty Fox, each start is massively important for his future at West Virginia. I think he's proven that he can win in this league and play. The next question is going to be, is he the starter next year? Or can he make that battle interesting? I think they're going to try to keep him no matter what because he has shown enough that you can win with this guy. But the question is going to be, is he going to have to take a year to learn again? Or is he going to be quarterback 1 into next season? Another big opportunity for him on Saturday in front of the home crowd to see if he can start stacking these starts and really gain some momentum going into the offseason. So, like I said, Colorado, it has had a similar situation at quarterback as West Virginia with rotating quarterbacks. They brought in Caden Salter. That hasn't necessarily worked out. So now they're looking for a spark from the highly touted true freshman. This one should be one of the top storylines going into Saturday's game. All right, let's talk about this one. Demoted. Former New York Giants head coach Pat Shurmur has gotten demoted. That's definitely got to sting. This guy's been coaching in football for around like 40 years. It's just a tough look for him. He's a guy that was once an NFL coach of a proud franchise, and now he's getting demoted and losing play calling duties for a struggling Big 12 team. So he lost the play calling duties, it seems like, after the 53-7 loss to Utah. So it's kind of interesting to see what's happening to Colorado. This isn't the first time that Deion has done something like this. I think the writing's kind of on the wall for Pat Shurmur. I think his time at Colorado is winding down. He's going to be looking for a new opportunity next year. So keep an eye on this. What does the Colorado offense look like with another offensive coordinator? I think last week they actually made the change. So who knows? It didn't seem like it helped much last week. So Pat Shurmur, just a tough look for him as a guy that, again, former NFL head coach, now getting demoted at the college ranks. Tough look for him. All right, let's talk about on-court performance, question mark. So last week was one of the best rushing performances we've had at West Virginia this season. The only other one that could rival that is the Pittsburgh game when Ty Edwards had the game of his life and really performed well. Ty Edwards, obviously, we know is done for the season. So is Jaheim White. So now we're relying on the third and fourth backs, and those guys had their best game of the season last week. JerseyEER Hubbard hit a career high at halftime last week. Finished the game with 29 carries, 108 yards, and a touchdown. Sincere Bowers has definitely shown burst and flashes this year. We want to see it a little bit more consistently, but had a nice game last week, 9 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. And then Scotty Fox had 65 yards rushing of his own last week. So these guys really came to play last week, and it helped because of the offensive line. And Colorado's defense has been pretty dreadful against the run this year. They're giving up 215 yards per game on the ground, which is the worst in the Big 12, and it's not even really close. So can this team stack another performance and gain some momentum? I mean, that'd be great if Hubbard can have another 100-yard game. That'd be a huge confidence boost for him. I'd like to see Bowers get more touches because I think he's just scratching the surface, and I think with more reps, you're going to see his explosive ability pop off more. And then Scotty Fox has really shown this year too that he can run. That fourth down run where he was untouched last week was impressive. We've seen big runs versus Robert Morris. We've seen big runs versus BYU. And that's what can really make quarterbacks dangerous in this Rich Rodriguez system. So this is a big chance to go against a team that has been struggling against the run. Maybe your offensive line can gain some momentum here and gain some confidence into this one, because that would be a positive sign. So that's one of the biggest keys to the game probably is, can West Virginia run at this defense who has struggled this year? All right, next topic. We have Haslam heroics. So Donovan Haslam is going to be remembered for one of the greatest West Virginia penalties that was called against them for assisting the runner. We talked about this on the show the other day. I don't understand how the inconsistency, you can push a guy, but you can't carry them. Just get rid of it altogether if you're going to call it one way. But a lot of people liked that from him because it showed that he was willing to do what it takes to help his team. And he's given the team a spark since he's played. He had an 84 overall passing protection grade last week, according to PFF. So that's impressive for him. And we've really struggled at this position. He's a redshirt junior, so he has another season left. Is this a guy that, again, can plant his flag as a starter moving into next year? It would be really helpful if we didn't have to replace 4 to 5 offensive linemen. So if you can find something with him over these last few games, that could definitely be a positive heading into this offseason where there's going to be a lot of evaluation and change coming. Maybe this guy can get in there early and solidify himself as a starter. So I'm going to be watching him really this week and see what he does against, again, a struggling Colorado team coming in. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is creating some havoc. So one of the main reasons that West Virginia won last week was the ability to create turnovers, because they were getting gashed a little bit, if we're being honest. There was a bunch of missed tackles, and this team, if they're good, they're creating turnovers. If they're not creating turnovers, they're giving up big plays. They've given up big plays a lot this season, and it's really hurt them. So it was a little concerning last week. But last week, like we mentioned, they caused 4 turnovers, and that led to 17 points for them, which won them the game. If you don't have those turnovers, I'm not sure if you win that game. And Colorado has turned the ball over a lot this season, especially over the last few weeks. Last week, they turned the ball over 5 times. So this is an opportunity for this team again to cause more turnovers. Again, you're going to go against a freshman quarterback, hopefully in a hostile environment in Morgantown. Hopefully these guys can put up another performance. You know, the defensive coordinator, his philosophy is to get at least 3 a game. And if we do that, we have a good chance at winning this one. So can this team create havoc? And when we also talk about havoc, we also talk about sacks. In the beginning of the season, West Virginia's defense was getting after the quarterback. After the Pitt game, we were second in the nation for sacks. Then those sacks kind of went away for a little bit, and you saw how much the team struggled when that happened. Last week, Jamori Robinson was making plays. Devin Grant has had a good season. Can these guys create havoc and get to the quarterback, especially a young one? Colorado has given up 10 sacks over the last 2 weeks. They've given up a lot of tackles for loss in the last few weeks. So this is an opportunity for the defense to, again, make their presence known, make plays, and get sacks and turnovers. If you do that, you're going to probably leave Morgantown with a win. And Colorado has really struggled in those areas the last few weeks. So keep an eye on that. Can we own the defensive line? Can we win these battles? And can we cause turnovers? It's going to be massive going into Saturday. All right. And then I want to talk about this past their prime question mark. So I don't know. I feel bad for Deion Sanders, which is kind of crazy to say because, you know, a couple years ago, no one would have felt bad for Deion because of the way they carried themselves, and it was very confident, and some people didn't like that. And if you look at Deion, I feel bad for him because of his recent health struggles. He had the bladder tumor, which is alarming. He's had other health issues, and I just wonder with his health issues, how much longer is he going to want to be doing this? He's no longer coaching his son. You can see the recruiting class here is not great. 80th overall, just not great situation. In the years past, they've had like top 25 classes with him. They've done a really good job through the portal. If he comes back next year, I'm sure they're going to be massively going into the portal again. But I just wonder how this is going to work out with Colorado. They've struggled at times, 2 out of the last 3 years that he's been there, they've struggled. And like I said, you don't have generational players right now like they've had last season. So with, Sanders and Hunter, they're no longer there, and they're struggling without those guys. Again, his family's not there with him. They're doing their own thing in the NFL. How much does this weigh on them? Health issues, team's not performing good, not really recruiting that great right now as far as high school ranks go. Are they past their prime? No pun intended. So yeah, it's an interesting situation. What's going to happen in Colorado, and if they struggle against West Virginia and they don't perform well, and then they're really at the bottom of the Big 12, I don't know. It's going to be tough for Colorado. But if we know one thing about Deion, he's a fighter, and he's very prideful. So he will try to win at all costs if he is the coach. Last week his players didn't talk to the media. I know that was interesting, but again, just an interesting time around the Colorado football program. All right, and that's all I got. So again, we covered a lot on this show today. This one should be a fun one. There probably won't be too many national eyeballs on this one, but I think as a West Virginia fan, we know the importance of this game because we do want to stack momentum and stack wins going into next season. Again, friendly reminder, if you haven't done so, please remember to like and subscribe to JerseyEER. We really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. Basketball tonight. We'll talk to you guys next time.